Some other universities across the country also operate EDCs. There are many of them public sector owned, private sector owned. But there are accredited EDCs that are going to ensure that our potential customers pass through before they can access the Bank of Industry's facilities. Because the BDCs, the EDCs, help build the capacity of the potential customers of the bank.
I'll take you up on this question. It's about asking for collateral from small businesses. Some of them have complained bitterly about, being able to get collateral. They have even, putting it lightly, they would say they've been asked to bring their father's head. That's putting it lightly. How bad is it really, and how are you helping them with, this whole collateral issue?
Well, I'll start from the premise that because the Bank of Industry is majorly owned by the government, as high as 7 out of 10 applicants approach the bank with the mind of not wanting to repay. They believe it's their own share of the national cake. It's quite unfortunate. So the attitude to credit is an issue. It's very, very poor. So every applicant that walks through the door, you need to convince us that you are genuine. You will not blame us for having reservations when you walk through the door. So you need to establish to us that you mean well and you actually want to properly utilize the fund and that you will repay. A number of customers have attempted, to defraud the bank by presenting forged documents to back up the applications. Some provide cloned CFOs, and it's only when we go to land registry to verify that we find out. So we need to ensure that our exposure is secured. Because if our exposure is not secured and the quality of our risk assets go bad, it will affect the bank's viability as well. Because it's only when we maintain very high quality risk assets that are performing. And what I mean by that is a higher number of customers who are repaying their loans to the bank. It's a bit difficult to achieve 100% in our environment. We have set a target of maintaining non-performing loans at single digit. It's tough, but it's doable. It's only when you have that going that the bank can be viable. The loans that are paid back to us will be revolved and then lent to others. And then we'll have a good balance sheet. We have good financials. It's when we have good financials that we'll also be able to mobilize additional funding from the public sector or from the private sector or for even the international development community, right? From the public sector, we manage funds for a number of federal government agencies. If we are not a healthy financial institution, they will not have BOI to manage those funds for them. And at the state level, we have MOUs with about 18 state governments, and the number is increasing. We're in talks with all the state governments in the country. And our target is to ensure that all the 36 state governments and the FCT become the Bank of Industry's development partners.
Before I move on to my next question, interacting with some of these entrepreneurs, some of them tell me that they source their raw materials locally, while more than 70% still have to import. And they say that if they're able to get their raw materials locally, it is better for the business. What is the Bank of Industry doing to help make sure that raw materials are readily available to the small businesses?
I don't understand what you mean by scarcity of raw materials. Because the Raw Materials Research and Development Council undertook a study. They set up a team headed by Professor Bamiro, the one-time Vice Chancellor of the University of Ibadan. And they were able to identify the raw materials available in each of the 774 local governments in the country. The agricultural and the soil minerals, right? So they are available. So it's just that most people are not aware of the availability of the raw materials in the environment and what to do with the raw materials, how to add value to those raw materials. That's part of our advocacy responsibility as well. Under NEDEP, we are working together with the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, as well as the Industrial Training Fund, with a view to building the capacity of Nigerians, helping them to identify the raw materials in their localities. And we're also in partnership with the Raw Materials Research and Development Council. And then when those raw materials are available, how do you add value? The technology, right, you require. We are collaborating with a number of technological agencies in the country, including the FIRO, which is the Federal Institute of Industrial Research, and PRODA in Enugu, and other such research firms all over the country. There are a lot of technologies that have come out of FIRO that are now being used by entrepreneurs all over the country in the process of adding value to our cultural produce: cassava, plantain, yam, maize, etc. So it's a matter of enlightenment. Most of our people do not have the knowledge, requisite knowledge, but we're trying our best, right, to work in collaboration with other development partners to sensitize our people to the business opportunities in the environment and letting them know how we can help them to harness their potentials and how these opportunities can best be harnessed, right?
I was talking with someone a couple of days ago, and he said to me, look, the Bank of Industry doesn't give credit. There is no such thing. They transfer their risk to commercial banks. And he went on, and I'd like to ask you, is this true? Do you give credits? Do you give money directly to your customers?
Yes, we do not give cash to our customers in most cases. We finance the equipment of plant and machinery. So we disburse directly to the machinery suppliers or the machinery producers, provided by the customers. The customers tell us where they want to buy the equipment from, and we do our own due diligence. Where we are convinced that the suppliers or the machinery suppliers or the equipment producers are up to the task, we disburse directly to them. And under the new dispensation, we're also coming up with a list of accredited equipment producers or suppliers, such that there'll be a tripartite agreement between the Bank of Industry, the customer, and the equipment supplier to guarantee high quality performance of the plant and machinery. Because it's only when the equipment perform that they can operate well, and it's only when they operate well that they can pay their loans to the Bank of Industry.
In your years of experience, will you say that significant progress has been made towards a viable economy in Nigeria?
Of course, yes. Because if you look at the indices, they've been pointing northwards. Absolutely. Right? The indices in the last 5 years have never been as promising in the history of this country. They've recorded an average of 5 to 7% growth rate, where other countries have been undergoing recession, right? And globally, we are performing the global growth rate for global performance. Because the global economy, some years back, was receding, right? And most of the industrial giants were recording negative growth. But we've kept recording 5, 6, 7%. Right? Like I pointed out earlier, it's just that the growth have not been inclusive. But we are taking steps to ensure that they become inclusive.